start for questions for David. Tony?
I'll just start with these guys in the back of the room. What, you know, having the seasons that they had, what do you take away from that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a special day for the organization, certainly a special day for these deserving award recipients. I mean, all of them, whether it's on the field, off the field, showed, I think, considerable career development, and that's really what this is. Obviously, on the field, it's producing at a high level and rising through our system, or putting yourself in a place to continue to rise through the system. And off the field in the office, it's guys who have stepped up, taken on additional work, and really contributed to the organization. So happy to have all of them here, and hopefully they can bring us a W tonight.
As far as the team in general, you know, setting even aside your president of baseball operations glasses, just how are you feeling as a Mets fan going into this final 9 games of the season?
I try to keep my president of baseball operations glasses on. I think probably do a better job in this seat when I'm looking at this through that vantage point than as the Mets fan. But this is a fun season, and it's a fun time of year. I mean, this is regardless of what seat you're sitting in. This is where you want to be, and we're all going to enjoy it. It's going to continue to be a roller coaster. These are not smooth. There are never smooth paths, smooth sailings, whether it's now or into October. There are really high highs, and there are heartbreaks as well. And we're at the point of the season where the emotions are heightened in both directions, and that's a really good thing.
Tim?
Following up on Anthony's first question, for Brandon Sprode and Nick Morabito, your 2 players of the year in-house, what do you take away from their seasons?
Yeah, I think both of them have added different elements to their game and continued to progress. I think in the case of Brandon, I mean, really rocketing through a system in the way that he has this year is pretty impressive, to the point where Brandon doesn't know about this, but a couple of press conferences ago when I was here, the press conference pretty much revolved around you, and there were so many questions about you that I ultimately had to steer it in another direction. And then in terms of Nick, I think continuing to make that incremental improvement. You know, we're talking about one of the most dynamic athletes in all of minor league baseball, and adding the skills to go along with that incredible athleticism puts together a really exciting package for us to think about going forward.
And in player development, what is the value of struggling occasionally?
Look, I think it's the value is moving past the struggles, right? The value is seeing that adversity and then fighting through that adversity, and understanding that is a part of this game. That failure is a part of this game, and we have to move past it, overcome it, and then get back to performing at the level that we know we can perform at.
Mike?
David, how impressed are you with the manner that the team's held it together with Francisco and with Lindor sidelined here?
Yeah, it's been a continuation of I think what this group has done all year. Whenever someone has gone down, whenever we've needed someone to step up, whenever it feels like backs have been against the wall a little bit, someone else has stepped up. And we've seen that again, and it's not really a surprise to me at this point.
And are you fairly optimistic here that at some point, whether it's tomorrow, 3 days from now, 5 days from now, he's going to be playing for the team again this season?
Yeah.
Laura?
From the outside looking in, people have looked at this roster and they see good clubhouse guys. John Manaea, JD Martinez, Iglesias. When you're constructing a roster, understanding that baseball is the most important thing, how much do you take into consideration character and personality and how people fit together?
Yeah, I think, look, character and personality are important, and we want people, not only players, but coaches and everyone around the team who care about the right things, who care about winning, who care about each other. How it all fits together is really tough to predict, and how a group actually comes together over the course of the season is really tough to predict. I think we all can do our best to influence it by how we are around the team. It's a big job of the coaching staff, and they've done a great job with that this year. But how it all actually meshes can be tough to foresee sometimes.
Howie?
You know, just kind of piggyback on that a little bit, David. When you put this team together in the spring, whether it was in the infield or the bullpen, it seemed that there was a little bit of trial and error, figuring out who fit, who didn't, for whatever reason. And then as this thing progressed and the stability that you have now took place, is that atypical of the kind of sort of galvanizing that you've seen in your career? Or, you know, things come together through attrition over the course of a year? But is this an unusual example of that to you?
Not necessarily. I think good teams go through evolutions over the course of the year, and rosters evolve over the course of the year. I always talk about, like, there are seasons within seasons. There are things that happen in April and May and June of a season that by the time you get to September and October, you can barely remember. And when you think about them, you're like, wow, that was actually this year. So I think the most important thing in any season is to just keep moving forward and keep giving yourselves the best chance on any given day. And our group has done a great job of doing that.
Abby?
Since we're on the topic of player development a little bit, how do you evaluate the pitching pipeline, where it's at right now? What do you like about it, and maybe where do you hope to see it improve?
I think what we've got right now is we have depth throughout our system. If you look at any level of our system right now, we feel like we've got really quality arms, and that's exciting, and that I think is the mark of a healthy system, where it's not just pockets, it's up and down the group. You can walk into any one of our clubhouses at any affiliate, look around and see some really talented arms, and that hopefully means that we're going to see some of those guys here in New York pretty soon.
And what have you thought of Luisangel so far? I mean, I know it's a small sample size, but he's already had a few impactful games.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the major league start anyone would dream of, right? He comes up in a pennant race, performs immediately in a pivotal role. Enormous credit to him and the position he's put himself in, and it's been fun to watch.
Isha?
Hey David, just kind of two on Acuna. Was there anything in the minor leagues that showed you a glimpse that he could be better the way he has been under the lights in major league games?
I think it's always tough to predict that someone is going to perform even better at the major league level than they perform at the minor league level. I think what we had confidence in was the poise, and that the moment wasn't going to be too big for him. He's a very poised individual. You know, sometimes you talk about like a low heartbeat, like the moment's not going to be too big for him. He's not going to be nervous. He's excited to be here, and he believes he can perform in this environment, and clearly he has.
And assuming Lindor comes back in the next few days, how do you view his role on the team, and is there trepidation in maybe giving him less playing time given the way he has been playing?
Look, I think when you have a healthy Francisco Lindor, he's gonna play. In terms of, you know, the role on the team, we'll figure that out. Mendy does a great job of getting guys time, of using guys' skill sets. So I think we'll continue to see that.
Jerry?
David, I mean, everyone in your rotation is thriving with his biggest workload in years, if not ever, I think in David's case. What have you taken from their success in these later weeks that you can apply to future pitchers and future rotations to make sure that the guys you have down the road have similar results?
Yeah, there's no secret to this one. This is, we have a group of pitchers who have taken their preparation off the field incredibly seriously, beginning in the off season. And so we have a group of guys who understand that the recovery after starts, their work in between starts, their nutrition, their sleep habits, it all contributes to what they're able to do every fifth or sixth day. And this is about as dedicated a starting group that I've ever been around towards those off the field aspects that really impact health and recovery.
Tim?
Going back to the minors, we've got a couple guys in Jet Williams and Drew Gilbert who missed a chunk of time this season. How do you kind of evaluate where they're at now at the end of the year?
I'm glad they're both playing healthy now, and both of them are swinging it pretty well right now also. So you never like to lose significant playing time, significant development time for prospects. Those guys had rough injuries, but both worked hard to get back. And I think that will benefit them as we head into the offseason, and then ultimately, once they get back into a full season next year.
Will they be able to have kind of just the normal offseason going forward?
Yeah, they're fully healthy. They're fully healthy.
Mike,
David, Carlos mentioned that as long as Senga comes out of tomorrow, it's okay that he would be at least a candidate in some role on Friday or this weekend again in Milwaukee. Just, is there some level of trepidation about in whatever role you guys and he determine, fits for him, pitching in an unfamiliar type situation in what's potentially such a big game, and what you may get out of him after being out for so long?
Yeah, I think before we put him in any major league competition, we're going to make sure that we have confidence that he's ready to go, and frankly, most importantly, that he has confidence that he's ready to go. So we'll see how things go tomorrow. We'll see him when he gets back here. We'll talk to him. We'll evaluate. We'll see how things go this week, and then we'll make a decision whether it's next weekend in Milwaukee or beyond. I think we understand these situations are always fluid, and we don't have to make a decision until we have to make a decision.
Andrew?
Understanding there's obviously still a week left, what can you say about what Mendy has brought to the table in the pressure of, playoff environment here?
I think what Mendy has brought to the table in the pressure of playoff environment is the exact same thing Mendy has brought to the table the entirety of the season, which is incredible consistency for who he is, authenticity as a leader and as a person, and it's been a lot of fun to work with him.
Tim?
Following up on Senga, given how careful you are with injured pitchers generally, and Senga specifically, what would make you comfortable bringing him back after one very short minor league start?
I think it's a variety of things. It's player feedback. We'll have testing that we can do. We'll be able to evaluate his recovery over the next week, and then ultimately we have to make a judgment call as to what's best for the team.
Laura?
When you talk about the rotation's focus on strength and recovery, was that something that started with one particular pitcher, or was there an organizational push to make sure that this was happening?
I think it's really something that our medical and strength and conditioning group, along with our pitching apparatus, has really pushed and has done a really good job of, the first call that Luis Severino had was with our performance group, and ensuring that we were on the same page of what his off season was going to look like. He spent time with them. He was very inquisitive and incorporated our group's recommendations into his off-season programming, and he and the rest of the group have been incredibly diligent throughout the season.
Jorge?
With respect to Francisco, backs can be very tricky, back injuries, and I understand he wants to play and you guys are at your best when he's in there healthy. But if you guys keep winning, is that a factor in terms of the level of urgency and what you will put him back in there? If you guys keep winning, you guys can be hold on and bring him back and maximizing making sure he's healthy.
Yeah, so player health is the priority always, and that will remain the priority. Once the player's, in this case, once the player's healthy and ready to play, he's going to be back in there. This is Francisco Lindor, so we want him in there and we want him in the lineup.
Thank you, David.
Thanks.
At this time.